this aspect alone is so bullish for people, but they're concentrating on the bearish in the sense of neutral takes that David had. But here he talks about, well, if we get clarity, 100% there will be tons of liquidity entering the space, but no one is focusing on this aspect. Why?
Institutional adoption paved the way for retail adoption, where regulation and all this sort of made the whole space mature more. And plus, where an ecosystem made it succeed, like not just picking winners and losers. That's sort of not what you want to see. And there's of course no time frame. This is not a price prediction. I think it's just of where the industry is going to go.
Because this is the only way how crypto can work, how crypto can actually get adoption on a broad scale. If all of crypto wins, not just XRP. Because if you believe in a multi-chain world, this is the only outcome that works.
It just so XRP is everywhere, not only technically, integration-wise, but also visually.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Krippenreiter TV, our weekly series on Monday, hosted by me, Krippenreiter, and my regular co-host Vet. The XRP community is in a little crisis right now after David set the record straight about the chances for XRP to reach 10K US dollar in the next 10 years. I personally think the timing for this was really, unlucky maybe, because there's the XRPL Las Vegas happening right now and more than 1,000 people were attending. All while the sentiment on the ground is better than ever, on X, on the other hand, people seem to lose their mind, kinda. Concerns that I heard the most over the past couple of days were XRP will never reach all-time high again, XRP is not worth anything anymore, now that Ripple USD gets more and more traction. Ripple is only selling XRP, never buying, and the classic that we always hear all the time, XRP has no use case, which is obviously false, but we will talk about this. Hey, Wet, what do you think about the current sentiment? Why is it so terrible? Why is it so terrible? What's going on?
Well, there's no shortage of bad takes currently on X. Mm-hmm. That's for sure. It really is the sentiment around the price. It really does a lot to people. You can see that given the market currently, and how long it's sort of been like this, that it is really grinding on people's mental, and they are like, hey, good news are... Or just anything that is sort of positive themed is neutral, it's perceived neutral, and everything that is not positive is automatically like very, very bad. So there's actually I think with how it's the current environment, there's no way that you can get someone to be like positive if they are already like this. And it's mainly probably price themed. I would hope, of course, it's not because of that, because then it's like sort of fixable, because price is out of our hands. Everything else we can discuss and see like what we can do. But prices are out of our hands. I hope it will improve in the future. I'm certain it will improve in the future. It's just like the question is of when.
Yeah, true. I think also the tendency sometimes, at least today or the past few days, is also that things that should be reasonable and rational seem to be irrational in the minds of people. Because there was this one take where I said, it would be irrational for Ripple to work against XRP. So if you think that Ripple is working against XRP or not aligned with XRP, you are actually admitting that Ripple is irrational, which is obviously false. Because if they were irrational, why would they do rational things like investing into Ripple XDev, so their department that is about developing on XRPL? It wouldn't make any sense. Or paying or investing funds into advertisements in Las Vegas, for example, which happened, right?
Ripple is a huge contributor to the XRP ecosystem, not only for people who are not developers, but also, of course, developer ecosystem, as you said. Contributions all over the place, great resource of knowledge. They're just a great partner. So everyone who is like sort of acting in the XRP ecosystem, Ripple is a great partner to work with. And whatever you want to do, you are sort of aligned because you are on the same network, you have sort of the same goal, you are aligned. And saying that they would like be like acting against that nature of alignment makes just no sense to me, because there's not a single thing that you can point to that would prove it like otherwise. And as you say, they're the largest holder also of XRP. So they have all incentives, right, for this ecosystem to do well. Absolutely, they have all incentives. Now, where people might differ is how that would look like, right? Ripple has a very clear strategy that they want to achieve, and I think it's a really sound and great strategy. Other people might have a different strategy, like different builders. They want to follow other paths, and that's the great thing. You know, you as someone who's participating in the ecosystem, you get everything, like everyone who's sort of going into different directions. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with Ripple, we can see that they are not just aligned; they are also investing heavily. And we see this with the Bitcoin conference that happened. When you were at the Bitcoin conference and you were looking outside the window, there was one thing you could see, and we will play it right now. It's XRP raising the standard, which is...
I have to say... It took over from the pictures because I wasn't there, but it took over the whole city. Like everybody was posting about it. You could see like all the billboards, the hotel front. It was all full with XRP logos. Standard didn't fold, and this was prior to the main event. And honestly, it set really the tone for the event. It was really nice because people arrived there, they saw this. It's really great. And people posted about it. It was truly really cool. And yeah, it happened to be it coincided with the Bitcoin conference. Let's put it that way.
Genius marketing, I would say. Because everyone there was this one post from someone who he shot a picture out of his window from the hotel room, and he said, am I dreaming or is this a nightmare? Because the first thing he saw when looking outside was XRP.
I saw that too. Because a lot of the Bitcoin conference attendees, they were in the hotel opposite of the billboards and the hotel showing XRP. So they basically opened their window and they saw like, hey, XRP. And I was like, is this a nightmare for them? Like, it just XRP is everywhere, not only technically, integration-wise, but also visually.
And then going back to Ripple again, when we think about are they incentivized to push for XRP, you have to think about this for a second, because they could also just push for Ripple. They could have pushed Ripple Prime here, or Ripple they also advertised for Ripple Treasury, but their main interest was XRP. And there was no reason for them to do it if there wouldn't be any natural and financial incentive for them to do it.
At the end of the day, Ripple is an XRP holder, just like me and you. They are a contributor, they are a builder, so they have like sort of different looks, different forms that they go into. Sometimes they are a builder, sometimes they are maybe an investor. If they do like the T54 investment that they did, or ecosystem developer, you name it, And so a lot of people, community members, did other things at Vegas that are equally great, but just of course in a smaller scale because their budget is smaller. So Ripple is just being a great XRP community member, to what they can bring to the table. We will dive into other parts, but people had like awesome cards with them and merch, right? So everybody, the cool thing is everybody did the best thing that they can do to make it a great event.
Definitely. One funny thing was COP XRPL telling the public, if there's someone at Vegas who goes to a casino and puts money on the table to play roulette and put the money on 589, he would retweet the post. And this is exactly what Blockchain Becker did. And non-financial advice is his witness that he actually won. Like he actually won with the number 5. Yeah. What are the odds?
He won with it landed. It landed on the 5. That's like one of these things that's it's just so funny.
How is this even possible, right? Crazy.
I mean, there are possibilities, there are probabilities, but
low, I would say.
No, the thing is that I really learned. You don't want to approach this with sort of like a rational logic, Like you don't want to say like, well, actually, and then you come with the let's not do that. What we say is, hey, it landed. That's all that matters, right? And it's amazing, and it is actually amazing. But
it's definitely amazing.
Let's not apply like.
Well, you could go down the conspiracy theory that everything is set in stone and planned, but no. We don't do this here.
Yeah, it was funny because I just hopped off from X Space where we just debated that theme and topic.
Maybe there's a chance, and he won.
I mean, hey.
But something that is more materialistic that you can touch actually is the fuzzy cards. So trading cards actually, just like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever. And there was non-financial advice, and he was actually opening some cards and won a few cool cards, and one was even shiny, legendary. Like if we.
Yeah, so the goal is like every.
All right, what's the trick?
Now, I have to say
The first one to the back.
front card just makes it. Put it on the back. So you can take that.
This is the house.
It might be.
All right, cool. What you got? Stack. No, Stack XRP. Fuzzy the Pirate. It's cool artwork. Ooh, there's a hollow. There is a hollow. Oh!
Wait, they only see cards.
Fuzzy the Wizard. Oh,
He got a rare
I'll
one.
be honest. I'll be honest. The cards are actually really cool.
Yeah.
Like I always said, that cards are cool because everybody is doing like only digital stuff, and they went ahead and did like actually the physical stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I will give it. I will definitely give it to them. That's actually really cool. But hey, can you scroll down a little bit? There. It says Mikkel is. No way, Mikkel is. Can we see that?
Yeah. Let's go.
Mikkel.
What's up, everyone? XRP Vegas, opening a fuzzy pack card here. Let's see what we get. All right, I can't look at the front.
Look at you, Mikkel.
Can't look at the front. Got to take this one.
Let's see.
Shuffle the front one back.
Correct. Exactly.
All right, let's see what we got. Fuzzy Pirate.
Oh, I see it. Oh,
Fixed it. Signal received. The Rising Sun.
And
Ah, look at that.
What is that?
That's dope. That's awesome, man. I appreciate that.
It's a
Thank you.
legendary one as well.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
So they were lucky.
Yeah. Nice.
The thing, I wonder, can you actually play with them, or are they just fancy?
I think that's a plan that you can actually play. I don't know if they published a rule set or something like that, but they are meant like a TCG, like a trading card game. But I think you cannot order them anymore. You had to get them either there or burn an NFT before to get them. Because I certainly would get some, because they're actually really fun.
Yeah, for sure. But maybe if you get them, you can also just collect them, like most people do.
Yeah,
they're not actually playing them, but collecting, just like NFTs. So there's
100%.
this.
And by the way, the cool thing is that everybody participated. Nobody said, "Oh no, I'm not going to do it," because he did it, and Non-Financial Advice did it, Mikkel did it, of course. But Brad Garlinghouse did it too. I saw one.
Oh, really?
David Schwartz.
Cool,
Basically, everybody did it. Like nobody refused it. It's actually cool.
David Schwartz even signed them, as it says here. Signed them.
Yeah, but hesitantly.
Really? Okay.
We know why. Because the thing, I tell you what the difficulty here is, and I understand, personally as well, is Fuzzy is a token, is an issue token. I think people could call it meme coin or so, but it's a issue token on the XRPL. People hold it, people trade it, and it's speculative, of course.
Yeah, sure.
So the difficulty here is like, are you going to engage with it, knowing that people will use this to sort of for speculative? That's the tricky thing with it. So. Yeah, but you have to make the decision if you care about it or not.
Yeah. I mean, you can care about the cards without buying the token, so you can have the upsides without the downsides of gambling on meme tokens. So
but the thing is, especially with people like David or so, is whenever they engage in these things, and we have seen this with multiple projects, they immediately run out and shout it to the world that, oh, David is a holder, or David engaged with us, sort of to get people in, And so if I were David, I'm always then hesitant to engage with that because I don't want to be used to lure other people into something that may or may not turns out to be, let's say, a scam or something like this, right? Like you never know, right? You don't want to tell people, oh, you are a scam, because they might not be a scam, generally. But you're hesitant. That's the thing. You're hesitant.
for the listeners, write in the comments if you think that meme tokens are great, or are you invested in meme tokens? What about you, Vet? Are you invested in meme tokens at all?
I think I forgot which one I was holding that I received that people like gifted to me, but I did not engage with any of that.
Yeah, I engaged back in the day, like when first Ledger launched. I mean, most of everyone did it because it was just new and fun and so on. But then I realized, well, I knew it before, but I mean, it's casino, it's gambling, so the bank always wins. So basically, I stopped.
I own a bunch on the testnet because prior to the first Ledger launch, we did like a lot of testing on the testnet, and so it launched the place there, and so we. In the team played like a lot of like sort of against each other with that, because someone was like issuing a token and then dumping it and so on. So yeah, there I own.
So you were trying to rug pull on the testnet and see how
actually
it goes.
yeah, and I think I rug pulled a lot of times Jebsy on the testnet. Yeah,
poor guy.
And he was like pissed because he was like, "Hey, I'm trying to get the price up," and I was like immediately full clipping that shit.
Yeah, but on testnet, right? On testnet.
On testnet.
Hey,
yeah. Yeah, for people. Fantastic.
So many scandals. One more scandal is the one with
more scandal.
not with Brad, but Brad talking about the actual scandal. I would say it's a scandal in some sense. It shows that people are not the XRP community, but people outside the XRP community, maximalists.
So biased, yeah.
They're still biased. After the lawsuit, after bull runs, bear markets, everyone in kind of working together in the multi-chain ecosystem, we still end up with a broader crypto ecosystem that still irrationally hates XRP so much that they are willing to not accept money in favor for their ideology.
Irrational actors.
Irrational actors, their ideology wins, so they will not accept money just to keep up with their own ideology. And Brad is talking about it. It's about the Las Vegas sphere. We will see what he's talking about.
XRP boycott of the sphere. And I'm going to tell you why. We tried to do XRP on the sphere. We thought that'd be pretty cool. They said they would do Bitcoin and ETH and not XRP. Who's running it, Jerry Gensler? And the way I look at it, chief marketing officer at Ripple, it actually ended up saving us money because we spent all that money up and down the strip. It's like it worked out.
Which was actually a good idea, right? It actually was probably the better idea to do it because in the end we had like captured the Bitcoin conference.
Yeah.
Someone was making a judgment within that organization, and we thought about it kind of escalating, but honestly, when that stuff happens, I'm just like, you know what?
Yeah.
He flipped everyone off on stage.
Yeah, you know, honestly, it's probably what he said, you know, in the sense of you just need one person who is maybe a hater and doesn't like, and they just block that, you know. So it doesn't mean like the whole organization behind the sphere is like, but it just needs like one person who's in charge.
It's just unbelievable that this is still happening today. After all what happened, it's still happening. Like the maximalists are still after us. So we still have to be the XRP army. We cannot be the XRP family because we have to fight against these people still. It's just odd.
I love that, yeah.
It shouldn't be like this.
Yep.
But still it is. But then we have also David Schwartz talking on these topics about price, about how the future could look like, and what he thinks is rational for XRP, because he was asked about price of XRP and what he thinks is a scam and not a scam, and is crypto a scam and what else. Because Saul was screenshotting what Watcher Guru was talking about, that Elon Musk in court said that most of crypto is a scam. And this kind of snowballed into David Schwartz talking about, well, we know what is a scam. What we are not talking about is what is not a scam. And then BTC20 said, funny name by the way, said that he would like to know from David if $10K XRP is possible or not. And then David Schwartz answered, if there were a few very rich, very rational people who really believed that there was a 1% chance that XRP could hit 10K in 10 years, they would bid XRP, so buy XRP, up to at least $20 today. Why aren't they? Is it a conspiracy? What do you think, Vet? Is it a conspiracy?
I mean, he's opening up a question. He's just saying, hey, like it has to be something like this, like more irrational, basically, for it to be like this. Because he says, hey, so there are people who have a lot of money in the world, and they have access to XRP because it's listed on basically every exchange in the world. And you can get it from even decentralized exchanges. And if they believe that XRP could hit 10K, let's say in a few years, would they not buy up as much as possible, from this, and thus resulting XRP to go up to $20? If they would not do this, that's sort of irrational, right? Like then they believe it, but they don't do it. Well, the only conclusion would be they don't believe it, right? So you can have depending on how you are looking at this, it's a difficult topic because again, you cannot say that something will not happen. Definitely, it's more of a probability thing. What is the probability for it to happen? That's sort of the thing. It certainly, in my opinion, is not 99% the case. Like it's not 99% sure that this is going to happen because if that's sort of the percentage. That people would just everybody would just buy, it's like obviously it needs to be something super tiny percent or reasonably small that people believe or not.
My take on this is actually that I think in these discussions what people always don't talk about is the risk evaluation. Even if I think it's rational to buy XRP now because I'm very certain that XRP will be $10K or whatever, or even let's say 100 or just a very high number, I probably will still not buy because of any risk evaluation that I did. Because, for example, right now with the war going on or uncertainties, I may be convinced that XRP has a future, but I'm not convinced that because of this happening right now, the war and everything, the uncertainties, I'm maybe not convinced that it is the right time to buy now. So this is something you have to think about as well. Not just, is it rational to buy because I'm generally in acceptance that this price could happen, but also, am I okay with taking the risk right now with what is going on in the macroeconomic sense? And then you may end up with the situation that you may have the money, you may want to buy it, but you still don't do it because you cannot accept the risk right now.
It is all like risk reward management, and if you believe that do you have a great reward here, then go ahead. If you don't think that is, you're going to manage the difficult in other way. I mean, there are certainly people who are sell XRP because else you would not be.
True.
The price where we are, you always have buyers and sellers.
True.
Yeah. By the way, BTC to zero, 100% has to be a troll account. 100%. I don't know why, but I feel, has a decent amount of followers.
But no one I know that follows him. So this is always my check if someone comments on my posts and he's trolling XRP or fudding XRP and there's not at least one follower that I know. Probably an account I will hesitate to comment
on. But I feel like the more interesting one was his actually first reply to Saul was like that there's more agreement that people crypto that there's more scams than which ones aren't. I think this is actually interesting, really. Like that's actually crazy when you think about it, but it's true. It's true. You say like, oh, this project is a scam. You say, no, my project is not a scam. Your project is a scam. Well,
there's no consensus on which project is a scam. You could say the top 5 these days are not scams, but the top 5 or top 10 in market cap, the coins, they change over time. So there were coins in top 5 that they weren't scams, but they left, and maybe now in the view of some people, they say it's a scam. So
just to visualize for people this means is he basically says, if you ask any given person, right, that people would say, yeah, most crypto is scam. But if you tell them if their crypto that they're holding is a scam, they would say no. But now it's interesting. If everybody says my crypto is not a scam, then no crypto is a scam.
Right.
But everybody says most crypto is a scam, right? So they basically project this to the outside, everybody, but never to, of course, them.
Sure.
And that is really interesting when you think about it. Because everybody says, yeah, of course, most crypto is a scam. My crypto is not a scam. But that's what everybody says.
Yeah, true.
But if everybody says
bias,
that... Yeah, but if everybody says my crypto is not a scam, then
there are no scams.
then actually nobody agrees that most crypto is a scam.
True.
So what it actually means is a lot of people are wrong.
True.
You know, a lot of people are actually wrong, and
without
the
knowing
crypto
it.
they're holding,
Without knowing it.
yeah, and that they are actually holding a scam.
Yeah.
You know, but
Until
it's
proven right. So at some point,
it's just
they are
hard.
proven that they're actually holding a scam while being committed on it not being a scam.
But I just want to say, like, it's very, very powerful comment from David. Like, you know, again, you have to imagine, okay, most people, I say also most cryptos are a scam.
Yeah.
But selfishly, I will always say all the crypto that I hold are not a scam, you know, obviously. But if everyone says that, then the original phrase, most cryptos are scam,
Make no sense
how does
anymore.
that make sense?
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense anymore.
And
Yeah, interesting.
many people believe that their own holdings are not a scam, as you said, but they are still believing in maybe higher prices or conspiracies, or maybe even certain switches that could be flipped to make higher prices more reasonable. And David also again, as a response to this whole topic, he said,
I like that one.
Yeah. He said maybe there was one time when you could semi-plausibly argue that Ripple had some easy way to shoot up the price of XRP massively for good, but was just waiting for the right time to maximize something or other. But boy, it's hard to argue that today. For one thing, circumstances have changed so much that it's hard to imagine we have held onto this magic switch for so long and it's still just waiting to go. We have explained what we are doing, why we are doing it, and what we hope to achieve. While we aren't transparent about everything, we are not hiding some grand conspiracy, at least not as far as I know. Again, he's hedging, which he used to do.
It's true.
Always. But it's very true.
Yeah, so just my 2 cents. I think more people should like really understand what he's saying here, because a lot of people say, Ripple, why is not Ripple driving up the price? You know, oh, Ripple acquired this company, G-Treasure, whatever. Why is XRP not $1,000? They could just do like, you know what? He's just telling you they can't. And obviously they can, because XRP is its own beast now.
Yeah.
It's a top 3 coin. It's a huge coin. Nobody controls the ledger or protocol. XRP has such a big market cap now and lots of liquidity supporting it that it's it's not really imaginable how it would look like for them to be able to push the price in that way, you know? So that's a sign also of maturing, you know, because he said there was a time, of course, maybe in 2012 or 13, 14, Ripple was like the only, you know, basically big holder, and they could have probably, you know, do a lot to do something with the price, because it's just super small, just like with any small project in the beginning. But now, specifically also with their holdings going down, XRP being so big, they just can't. They're just one of many. It just goes back to, we need to accept that this thing called XRP is its beast of its own. Yeah, you know, it's and we cannot control it. Nobody can just like influence it to our favor, because if they would, I think he did this. He said this. It's hard that we imagine we held onto this magic switch for so long. There's also, so if they could do it, then they would have done it already. Like, why would they not do it?
Exactly.
You know, like it's crazy to think they could do it and they hold for so long to not do it.
Yeah,
this is just pure logic. It's just like, you know, so dense logic, and people just
no, that's not true. It's not true. It's all conspiracy.
It's such posts that people, going back to the beginning. I saw some comments that people unfollowed David. Some people unfollowed David. Some people said he's hurting the community. Some people said he's just not credible. It's like these posts that makes you just really like be hated for some reason. And it doesn't matter if you're the creator of the XRP Ledger, like even the creator.
It's just a very neutral and honest post. And this is already enough to hate him, which is crazy to think about, because he's the least person who wants XRP to fail. So if out of all people who want XRP to succeed, you would think that David is the one who wants it the most, because he's one of the creators.
You know, it's because when you have, let's say, a false perception, if you believed actually, Ripple can like sort of get it to $100 whenever they want, and then you hear this is shattering your worldview. Yeah. But for everybody who has like really a sound thesis of, let's say, what XRP and XRP Ledger is doing, what the big problems in the world are, right? Neutral money, cross-border settlement without intermediaries, censorship-resistant finance, right? DeFi. If you think that this is a problem, then everything that he said here is is not an issue.
Yeah.
Like I read this, no problem.
Yeah.
My thesis is full intact. But everybody who has like these shallow, I have to say, really bad, shitty thesis, I mean, they got like demolished with this.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think they should, because it's just a bad thesis. And ironically, this is something that I talked in the space just before I hopped into this call here with you. You can be completely wrong and probably still win.
Yeah.
Like my investment thesis could be David Schwartz has awesome hair. Like the shampoo that he's using is great. It smells great. It's just, I mean, I never touched his hair, but it might be like so amazing. Like the conditioner is amazing,
Yeah.
and because of his hair, I invested in XRP. And honestly, if XRP goes to $10, let's say, right, and it goes up in price, which I believe XRP will go up in price over time. My investment thesis was right. I invested because David Schwartz's hair is amazing. So I'm just telling you that people can be completely wrong with their thesis, but still be right.
As we said last time, the outcome is still the same. Doesn't matter how you approach it.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter how crazy your idea or your thesis is. In the end, we all share the same outcome. And if the outcome is higher price, I'm fine with it. The question is are you strong enough in your thesis to allow for it to take a little bit longer than you might think?
Yep.
So if your thesis is something which should maybe happen this year and it not happens, and this is why you will sell, your thesis wasn't so strong after all.
And I think this is where it comes down to. Even though we have multiple people with different theses, like again, David Schwartz here, I think specifically in times like this, where the price is a little bit like sort of pressing in the market, the sentiment is not great, I think this is where you can see people with strong thesis really shine.
Yeah.
Because in a bull market, everybody, even the person with no thesis, is shining.
Yeah.
But in a bear market, the person, even like the ones with really good thesis, they are shining as well. Like for me personally, this market so far, all this, I'm not feared.
No.
I'm not afraid. I'm not like I'm chill.
Yep, same.
I'm super happy where like how things are going. I'm super happy how things are going, and but someone who has a shallow thesis really is going to get exposed by this. And that's what a lot of people got exposed by it. Let's be honest. And honestly, because I said in a bear market, the people with strong thesis sort of separate from people with shallow thesis. In a bull market where every thesis is like great, that can be also sometimes frustrating. Because that happened like last time, where I was like thinking to myself, like having such a hard working on your own thesis, but the person who believes like David Schwartz's hair is because XRP's price goes up, I'm sharing the same outcome as this person, literally. And this person is going to win as much as I win. Even though I put like so much more work into it, and this other person was like, I invest because David Schwartz's hair, and we are winning both. But can be frustrating, but yeah.
But then you could say, then you could say that the one liking David's hair is only winning because of luck. He bought into the coin at the right time, at the right position. But you invested because of something that you believed in that is fundamental. So if you win, you win because you actually put in the work for it to win. Maybe even as an influencer or as some kind of builder, content creator, whatever. You put in the work to make it more likely for it to happen. But the one only buying because he's a trader or because he likes David's hair, he only bought because he thought right now is the time, not because he's convinced on XRP, he is convinced that right now maybe is just the right time. And he will also be the one who will sell the moment it's not the right time anymore. And he feels that his emotions are taking over. And then he may sell way too early while the people who have a thesis will hold through the stagnant time and will win in the end. Or at least the chances are higher that they win.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. And what is luck, what is not luck?
True.
Is at the end of the day, the difficulty
again,
here.
the outcome is the same. So you could argue it's also luck.
The same. Yeah. I mean, I feel lucky, to be honest.
True.
Like in many cases, I feel like super lucky. And I don't know if this is like all my work in that sense to be like where I'm at and like to be here with you and others and to partake in this opportunity. Because like at the end of the day, then maybe it is actually sort of a part of luck, because all of this is out there. All this information is out there, but a lot of people are busy with other things.
True.
You know, they see it, they just gloss over it, and then they move on. But there was a time where you and me didn't move on. Like we learned about crypto, we heard about crypto, we said, hey, I'm gonna listen to it. And then it just sucked us into it, right?
True.
But we could have also moved on. Like when we saw the first time crypto, we could have just moved on.
Yeah.
And then none of this would have happened.
I mean, we could have moved on after the first bear market, 2017, 2018. We could have said, okay, it's a bubble, it's all gone. Like it will not matter in the future. But the reality, at least for me, was when I worked into the tech, tried to understand what's going on, reading the documents, not just about XRP, but crypto in general, I realized, okay, this is something that will last. I don't know. At this point, I didn't know. I still don't know. I'm betting, obviously, on XRP, but I didn't know which kind of crypto will win in the end. So I betted on many. I tried out IOTA, I tried out Tron, and found out, okay, this is something I don't like, this is something I don't like. And for whatever reason, on XRP, I felt home. So whatever the architects of XRP come up with, I was happy to see this actually in the reality and practice working for XRP. So I decided, okay, at least for XRP, I'm happy to hold it for a long time because I realized that the tech is actually superior to the other projects that I tried out before. So this is why I'm still here. Even if XRP would have crashed, I would still be there. I would talk about different projects, maybe different coins, but I was convinced about XRP, and this is why I'm still here, because of the tech mostly. And also about the what if. Like, if we really believe that the grand thesis of the financial system changing and XRP being a major part of it, what if we are right with this? Because if we are right, we are talking about so much money that it doesn't matter if we get the whole pie, we only need a certain amount of it, and we will still win. This was always my thesis also to get me through the stagnant times, because crypto in general will win, in my opinion. My bet is that XRP will win, and if it wins, I'm hoping that it will take at least 1% of the whole pie, and if it does, I'm happy with it. What about you, Vet? Why are you still here after all these years?
Because after so many bear markets and ups and downs, and so much that was thrown at crypto, FTX, SEC going after crypto, going back into, you can start Mt. Gox, right? Like in the early days. There was so much shit thrown at crypto, and it always came back stronger, that there is something here, I feel like. There is really something here that is a true alternative to a lot of problems to solve. And to many cases, I think it's the only solution for a lot of problems. Like we can argue about decentralized hosting or decentralized smart contracts, whether you can solve it other ways. But like money is a really good example for it. And I think we are converging with time that the world is coming to a point where it really asks for a solution. While crypto's maturing and it meets sort of. So I think there will be a time where crypto will present itself as the perfect solution for a problem that is like gigantic at a given moment in time, where a lot of people, like we say, we need neutral money now. And then it will just be there. For a lot of people, it will be, oh, it suddenly popped out. But I think for a lot of people, it will be like, it was always there and it was getting ready sort of for it to be used. Because I believe at the end of the day, how this technology is going to be used, we have really no idea. And you will show another video later in this here, where how big this pie is, it's for me hard to like imagine, honestly. This is something I would love to like talk with David Schwartz or just ask him if he would be in a tourist space and say, hey, like, can you just, from your point of view, describe like how big you see this? Because for me, personally, it's super big. So that's why the ceiling for XRP, its adoption, its price is for me like very, very high, right? Not a specific number, but for me, it's more like about where does the use cases expand to, and then whatever price would be there. The
potential, right? The opportunity is there. It's gigantic. We cannot really conceive it because it's just too big, but it's there. And if it's so big as we think it is, and if we are right, I think we have a good chance of coming out good. On the financial 100%. Perspective, also maybe even knowledge-based. So we learned a lot on the way.
That's something also, and I want to be always careful with that, is I'm so much invested into this, specifically also knowledge-wise,
Right.
and all of that is. I don't want to say like this is the only like whatever presenting it a solution for everything, because I might have blind spots, of course, and so I want people to prove me wrong, and so I'm always happy to engage with other people in these discussions whenever I can. But I feel very, very confident.
Yeah, same. In general, confident in general that crypto in general will be successful in some fashion.
No doubt. It seems to be such a no-brainer at times, right? And I know it's very hard for people to believe that when the market is currently as it is, but it's not the first time.
True.
We've been here.
We don't know how long it takes. It may take forever, as in 2035 or something, but at some point it will happen. And then is the question, can you wait through this time? Are you still there when it happens? So it all comes down again to your thesis. Are you ready to hold on to your thesis for very long, or are you feared out of your position?
Yes, because the person who, again, let's say David Schwartz here, right? I think it becomes very insulting. I always use that David Schwartz here now, but he's also growing older. Let's say in a couple years or 5 years or whatever, his hair doesn't look as good anymore.
Wow.
Like, what does it do to your investment thesis? Are you going to sell because now David Schwartz's hair is not great, right? You may sell, right? Because you say, well, David's hair is not shiny anymore or something like that. I'm going to sell. XRP is not destined to win or so. This is where someone with a thesis didn't last, the test of time. And that's why I always encourage people to have a good thesis. Like, you need to put in the work because it gives you good safety.
True. But we are still, I think we should still listen to what David Schwartz is saying. And 100%. He was on Las Vegas as well. And Johnny Crypto had a chance to interview him more publicly on Las Vegas, not a direct interview, but he got asked a few questions. And there was this video that popped out, and he answered actually pretty truthfully and honestly, and there were some alpha in it. I don't want to spoil it, but let's go.
Let's see.
So, again, very skeptical.
You think it's more important to get clarity passed and yield will come, or fight the fight to get it?
I see both sides, but the way I feel personally is we should take gains while we can get them.
Right.
So this was a big thing that we had a discussion about a lot when Trump became president, and the second time, and we said, hey, he's really moving positive for crypto. There were a couple of one side, there was sort of two, nobody was really solidly in either camp. I'm sort of just giving you extreme version. But one camp was like, we should do everything right now. We should go public. We should get all the customers we can. We should do everything we possibly can right now. And then if things turn bad, maybe we'll lose something. But the further ahead we get, the better. And the other one was like, we should be very careful because we don't know how long this is going to last. If we go public and the next SEC is, very unfavorable, what can we do? And I think we leaned harder into the first camp than the second camp, with the exception of truly irreversible decisions that create live or die risks. Obviously, as Monica, our president, puts it, make hay while the sun shines. Right? The sun's shining. So on clarity, I think let's get it. I don't think there's much risk of backsliding. Sure, let's get the best bill we possibly. I'm not mad at
This is actually funny, I think, because Brad is always saying, he has no dog in the fight, and the Clarity Act isn't such an important deal. And XRP has already clarity because of the lawsuit. But then again, we see David Schwartz saying that the Clarity Act may actually be the one thing that is missing to jumpstart whatever action Ripple is planning to do. So what do you think on it? Do you think going 100% after your target whenever clarity hit is better than playing that defense?
I think it's really just what he said is what do you think is the likely outcome of this administration currently and it's doing? Do you want to get as further ahead as possible? Like as you said, Monica, make hay while sun shining? Or are you going to be more careful? Let's, let's observe what's going on. Certainly having something is great, but we need to be also careful what we are going to get in. are you going to accept anything that's presented to you just for the sake of having anything? Or do you should be actually careful what you are agreeing to? Yeah. And I think sort of that is the middle ground is, hey, we should get something, but it should be not something completely shitty. Yeah. And it's a tough choice indeed. It's really a tough choice because it essentially you make like a decision of how the industry is being treated, how new projects are being treated, how established projects are being treated. It is a difficult judgment of what you have to pick, but you have sort of to pick something because I believe not picking anything is also a pick. Like no choice is also sort of a choice, and I don't think no choice is a good choice.
Yeah, true. I think if you never go all in into your decision, you really risk not winning at all. Even if you had the chance, if you're not going after it, you will lose against someone who was willing to take the risk.
Yeah, and you mentioned the dog in the fight. I think it's specific with the yield. The good thing, I guess, for Ripple is they don't do the incentivizing yield thing anyway. So, and with retail, they have no retail sort of connection. So for them, whether yield is being paid out or not, I would probably say it's more in their advantage if there is no yield payout by stablecoin issuers, while other people, they do care, like Coinbase and Circle. They very much care about that part. But I think RLUSD or Ripple, they don't care about that specifically. Yeah.
People who tried to push back against the banks and threatened the bill, as long as they actually, like, you know what I mean? It's one thing to bluff and say, yeah, we'd rather have no bill than a bill that has this. But if you really mean that, I think that's probably, and again, a bluff only works if it's semi-credible. So it may be that we all actually sort of secretly, I don't know, we may all sort of secretly agree. We want as much progress as we can get, and then we'll try to get more, and we'll try to get more, and we'll try to get more. And if later we get pushed back a bit, or we don't get as far as we want, I think the strategy is let's get as much as we can, as soon as we can. But again, I don't criticize the people who push back on that, because if we say we'll take anything, then we're going to get crap. So I'm completely sympathetic to people like Coinbase, and I think Charles Hoskins and a couple other people. I'm completely sympathetic to them saying we'd rather have nothing than this bill, under the assumption that they sort of don't really mean it, but sort of have to see what, like, maybe we're all on the same page, maybe not, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say we're all on the same page and want the best bill we can get, and none of us really wants nothing rather than a pretty good bill, but we have to have that position to push come, right? If we cave, then we're never going to get a compromise is better than if we cave. And it worked out. It looks like, yes, we did push it right to the line. Honestly, like if clarity doesn't happen within the next 6 weeks or so, we pushed it right, but that's how you get right, that you get the best deal on a car by being about to walk away from a deal, right? That's kind of a sign that maybe you got. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't have any inside baseball views from. I have some inside views about Ripple's strategy. We wanted the best bill we thought we could get, and we weren't playing any games. We were honest about that from the beginning, but then we weren't in a position where we had to be.
That car, by the way. That car explanation, or it was really good. That's exactly, like, hey, you get the best deal when you're just about to, I'll leave. I'm not going to take it. And then it's like, hey, come back. That sort of, everybody was on the line, like he was willing to let you sort of go, but the other person was like about to, to go as well, and then get the best deal possible. What he said there, by the way, with the that they don't actually mean it, like under the assumption, is I think very important to highlight, because I would also agree with that, because everybody who's working in crypto, it's very hard to believe that they would be against clarity or any sort of regulation. Like, you are working crypto, you actually should want to have it, but you have to. But you say it sort of, you're blocking it because you sort of pushed to give like a hard stand to get sort of the negotiation going. Interesting view on it. Yeah, because I can see that.
Yeah, because it's a big deal for Coinbase and not a big deal for Ripple. So they obviously don't want to push against it, but Coinbase wants it because they actually have a dog in the fight for the yield.
Yeah.
So for them, it's more important. And then David will say it as well. Everyone is biased. No matter how honest David wants to be in this video, he has blind spots. Everyone has blind spots. Yeah. We are all a little bit biased in certain situations. Right. We all want different outcomes that favor us more than the other. But I'm still willing to accept that you will also win if I win. So even if you are my competitor, if in a joint approach we both win, I'm willing to accept this as well. I wouldn't fight against you just for the sake of it. Because this is the only way how crypto can work, how crypto can actually get adoption on a broad scale, if all of crypto wins, not just XRP. Because if you believe in a multi-chain world, this is the only outcome that works. If you believe only XRP would work, and he will say it as well, I mean, it's like saying only, let's say only Facebook wins in internet. Doesn't make sense, because then why would you be on the internet? Just for Facebook? Right. No.
It probably helps Ripple's book. It being difficult to give rewards kind of helps us, because we're more aimed at the enterprise side, where there's more ways to get around that than the retail side. But we're going to move on to retail at some point anyway. The way I think about Ripple's strategy is enterprise today to pave the way for retail tomorrow. That's what happened with the internet. Right. The first customers of the internet were government, military, even large corporations, and that's what built an internet that had the things that ordinary people wanted. I think our strategy is enterprise today, because what do we have that like the average person in America, in the crypto DeFi space, what do we have that the average person in America needs? Not all that, very little. And that's why DeFi's been stuck at about $150 billion or so for the last 2 years. So we need to be able to have the stuff that ordinary people, payments, checking accounts, banking accounts, loans, sensible investments, equities, treasuries, things like that. And it's enterprise adoption that's going to pave the way for that. So Ripple is going to need all those things in a couple of years, but we don't need it now. So to some extent, it wasn't our fight. We need clarity around digital assets now.
Agreed.
Yes. So we were like, if we can get that, that's like a home run from our point of view. But also, I don't want to ever be in the position of like trying to slam the door behind me, of like getting everything I need and say to everybody else, go fend for yourselves. So I absolutely bear no ill will. When something that I believe it aligns with my own interests, I feel like I have to be careful. Here, it's in my interest to get security for digital assets. It's not so much in my personal interest, at least in the short term, to get these rewards and other things. Right. I mean, I'd like to see the big banks collapse, but we're working with them. Like, does it really my short term?
It's funny. He's against the banks, but at the same time, he wants to win with the banks. So this, like, his DeFi side wants to abandon the banks. Well, this Ripple side obviously wants to work with the banks. Right. It's really fascinating, so that he kind of has to argue against himself all the time. Because if he really believes in the cypherpunk ethos, then he should be against banks. But then he was working for Ripple, or is still working for Ripple as an Emeritus. Mm-hmm. He will always be in favor for the banks as well, which is sometimes a little difficult to handle.
I think it's also difficult for just from a bank point of view. You sort of allowing other people to disrupt you, essentially, right? Like you could shut the door down, but it's not possible quite. So you need to allow it a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I think your best probably incentive is to delay as much as possible, because if you cannot interact with, like, if you're not ready for this, then you want to still be ahead with this technology, but maybe not yet. So it's just an interesting sort of thought, like what they believe. But I believe, generally speaking, everybody wants innovation or this happening. So even including the banks. Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
So again, I always give this disclaimer, like when I'm saying things that benefit me, understand that we all have a blind spot, and I try to see my own, but
Ripple's not shutting the door. The government shut the door, though. They can't blame Ripple if Ripple gets something and the door gets shut. That's not Ripple shutting the door.
I think that's true. I just don't want us to be in a position of just advocating for ourselves. I think, I'll just give you an example. Imagine if the government really clamped down on the internet but gave Google a free pass. Right. Would Google be at a half the size, a third the size it is now? Yeah. The pie is so big, the potential pie is so big, and the pie today is...
I mean, the Google example is even better than the Facebook one, because back in the day you were using, and even today you are using Google to search for other companies, for other websites. So if there is no internet besides Google, what would you search for?
An industry with only Ripple, right, or XRP would be no industry. Yeah. Like there would be no industry.
You want to be a bridge currency for what? the long tail of assets
You need an ecosystem.
Yeah, you need an ecosystem if you want to be the bridge currency for the long tail of assets. But there are no long tail of assets because you shut down the door behind you. You cannot be a bridge currency because there is no multi-chain world because you are the only single asset and the only single blockchain in existence. Makes no sense.
So small.
Right.
I really do think, like in the abstract, it's hard to feel it emotionally, but in the abstract, I think it's in our interest for our competitors to be successful.
Absolutely.
For now, anyway.
Yeah.
So,
David, question for you. Charles Hockinson talks about, the way we know any bill we get is it's not going to be. If you get a good bill, the other side's happy, right?
Yes.
Charles talks about if this bill goes through, every single new crypto will be a security, and that will limit the industry and screw it. Do you believe that? Is there truth to that, where you think it will hurt the industry and not allow it to grow as you were
so
just
that's
talking about?
exactly the concern. What we don't want is to slam the door. I mean, yes, it would be great if every crypto existing today, or the majority of them, had legal clarity. That would be a big win.
Right.
Now, is that worth making things actually harder for newcomers? I mean, that's a tough. That's a tough call. Obviously, here I talk my own book. I'm like, we have enough, right? I don't want to do that. I never want to slam the door, and I would never. And I've always advocated for Ripple not pushing to slam the door. And I'll say that to everybody out there. We want the space to grow. We want competition. The Bitcoin maxis are just wrong about everything. Even like the XRP maxis, there are some.
Yeah.
I think they're wrong. I think
There are some, and they are unfollowing him now.
Yeah. Yeah, they're unfollowing him now. So funny.
we want innovation.
everybody to
What
play.
attracted me to the cryptocurrency space in the beginning was the pitch for Bitcoin, which at the time was throw out all the old technology that enriches the legacy stakeholders and build on the best technology that you can find and give the people who are going to use your technology the best experiences you can.
Yeah.
And I still think we want to do that. And when that's not Ripple, when that's not XRP, when that's not Bitcoin, when that's not Ethereum, then it can be something else. And then it's on us to make our technologies better for people. But I really think that doesn't everybody wins world. And so I hope we don't actually do that. I hope it doesn't turn out that way. But again, I'll take, again, I'm talking my own book a little bit here, so caution, but take a victory that we can get it, even if it's not everything.
No, we need something better than nothing. I liken this.
But I personally do not even believe it's in my own interest to slam the door on other people, and I hate to see people actively advocating for that.
Yeah.
If that's the best we can get, we should take it and then fight for more.
Right.
But I would hate to see people advocating.
My last question for you is, I've likened the Clarity Act to the Telecom Act that we got back in '96 that allowed the internet boom to happen. Do you agree the same thing could happen where that will unlock a boatload of liquidity and institutions to be able to invest in this space once we get the clarity back, even if it's not a perfect bill?
100%.
Okay.
This is so bullish. Alone, this aspect alone is so bullish for people, but they are concentrating on the bearish in the sense of neutral takes that David had. But here he talks about, well, if we get clarity, 100% there will be tons of liquidity entering the space, but no one is focusing on this aspect. Why?
Because it's sort of like more under the radar in the sense that it's less tangible for people to hold. Like he's comparing it very hard to the internet, the early days of the internet, where he sees the adoption of crypto is following that of the internet, where institutional adoption paved the way for retail adoption, where regulation and all this sort of made the whole space mature more, and plus where an ecosystem made it succeed, like not just picking winners and losers. That's sort of not what you want to see. And there's of course no time frame. This is not a price prediction. I think it's just of where the industry is going to go. So I think it's for people harder to see, even though it's very important. I actually fully agree with him here completely with everything he said. Like legit, I think the only thing that I would probably sort of semi would push back is that when you look at how the internet also developed and how that sort of went on, is like it's very hard. There was like no existing infrastructure that it was really building on, I would say, where with crypto, it's building on top of the internet infrastructure. Without internet, no cryptocurrencies. So in what way it completely follows that one-to-one, I'm not entirely sure. Plus, we are dealing here with a lot with money as well. True. So a lot of different people are engaging with, like, you have banks, you have governments, you have reserve currency talks, and it's just like it touches other things.
Yeah, the traditional finance world.
It's probably not a disagreement with him.
It's just an addition.
Giving a sort of a different view. Yeah.
I mean, the traditional finance world is involved, and you can expect that the incumbents will do everything possible to at least delay it as long as possible. Because if crypto and DeFi wins in the end, you just have to believe that they will try to carve out at least a little bit of the pie, if not most of it, to be ready when it's adopted.
For me, as an XRP Maxi, right? Like I would consider myself an XRP Maxi actually here.
Okay.
In the sense that I want XRP and the XRP Ledger to succeed. Okay. And this is where I advocate the most, right? Like this is where I'm advocating most. Which does not mean I'm sort of the traditional Maxi. So like I'm not the XRP Maxi where I say only XRP and everything else should like die and it's just one protocol, right? Basically, or what is it, like one coin to rule them all? I'm not in that camp whatsoever. I'm pretty sure I want others also to succeed. It's an ecosystem that grows, but I want to have the XRP Ledger, which I'm so passionate about, compete on a level playing field with all of these others, right? Because if we can only make the XRPL or XRP successful if we cheat, right? Like only picking winners and losers and preventing people from entering, right? Then it's not honest. It's not honest, deserved win, right? Like we should be able to compete on a level playing field, which means like let competitors innovate and let basically the best design choices come out. This is why we have seen like in the crypto space itself, so many times that very nature helping me personally solidify why the design choices of the XRP Ledger are so great. Like there are many times where I see people innovating, new cryptocurrencies come out, new designs, new consensus, and then they innovate and we see what's going on, and sometimes maybe there are some issues where we see, actually, the original design, let's say with the XRP Ledger, was actually a better one. So new designs, new innovation can really prove that existing ones are really great. And it does not happen if we just sort of cut this down or just not let people compete. It's very, very important. I fully agree. We should make it open. But, for me, someone as an, again, XRPL Maxi, in the sense that I want this technology to succeed, or I'm passionate about XRP, level playing field is the only way. You don't want to be winners or losers. Bitcoin Maxis, they see it differently, right? For them, they're like the classic Maxis, which is like everything is a shit coin, everything will go down to zero, and it's only Bitcoin. I'm not in that camp whatsoever. So,
But what do you tell people who say the only way for XRP is to win in a dishonest way? Maybe Ripple, for example, forcing XRP onto people, forcing certain technologies that they may not want to use, but they have to because Ripple is forcing it. What do you say to these people?
It would benefit me probably, right? Like, because as someone who is an XRP holder and so on, it will probably benefit me. I just don't think it's a sustainable way. Okay. Because if you are the ones, so think about this. If you want to win sort of in a dishonest way by, let's say, the government picking only XRP or so, then it's not stable. Why is it stable? Everybody who is not in XRP has all the incentives to push against XRP, right? Has all the incentives to say, I'm not going to accept this, even though if some people are choosing it. But what you actually want to have is that there is a general consensus about people that XRP is useful. It's a great technology because it is a great technology, not because it was picked. So it's a matter of getting people behind you in support because it's an actually genuinely good protocol instead of forcing it onto them, right? Yeah. Because that never lasts long. We see this in politics. We see this like in governments. Sure. Whenever you force, let's say, a leader or someone on, it's always an unstable situation. You want to have it stable, and I think the most stable is a fair competition. Yeah. Fair winners are very hard to disagree with. Unfair winners, everybody is incentivized to boycott that.
True.
Hope that makes sense.
Perfectly. You are totally right. I fully agree.
And I don't think we're going to lose any gains in the short, at least certainly not with this administration. And I mean, so I think we should take whatever gains we should get, and be very happy about them.
I agree.
I
appreciate it. Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
But there's not only David being bullish right now, as we see. He's not only neutral, or in the point of view of certain people, they would say he's bearish, but he's definitely not. I think he's bullish, as we heard.
More bullish than ever.
Definitely.
The guy. Well, he lost some weight. Look at him.
Really?
He's shining.
But there are many reasons why you should be bullish, and one reason is the adoption we see from Korea or the Asia room in general. And in this, in this case, we saw a combined joint effort from Axelar and XRPLKorea and Hana Financial TI about a proof of concept that was about the Korean won stablecoin issued on XRPL and then operated on XRPL and controlled on XRPL, and then made interoperable via Axelar, and they proved that it's working. And we see this here. They proved that end-to-end operability was verified across 4 areas: issuance and supply management of the Korean won-pegged stablecoin, cross-chain asset movement and settlement, institutional-grade compliance controls required by financial institutions, which we know the XRPL offers natively without smart contracts.
Yes.
And then adverse event response, so clawback, freezing, deep freeze, global freeze, also natively on XRPL, including restricting transactions, recovering assets, and adjusting circulating supply. So, sounds perfect, right?
Honestly, I was really happy seeing this because I want more issued assets on the XRP Ledger, sort of to get this FX market idea going, because I see it very promising for a use case of the XRP Ledger DEX, and of course for Ripple payments as well needed. And Korea is like the biggest holder. It's like it's one of the biggest holders of XRP. Super passionate community. Man, Upbit is like a huge. It's one of the biggest exchanges holding XRP, and I'm personally very, very excited seeing that move. What are you thinking?
I think it's pretty bullish for me also that Axelar is involved, because out of all the protocols that exist, Axelar seems to be one of the only ones who didn't get hacked now. So whatever they did seems to be secure.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, we don't know if it lasts, but from the current standpoint, we can certainly say Axelar is one, if not the most secure bridge that you could use today to make your coin or your token interoperable. And one thing that is cool, which I learned with the interchain token service, is that you can make an already issued token interoperable. So let's say you have your meme token issued on XRPL, you can use Axelar to make it interoperable across all the ecosystem that Axelar is connected to, which is a huge enabler, I think. And if they could prove on an institutional level that XRPL is well connected to Axelar and also able to make compliance work on XRPL natively without smart contracts, it's bullish for XRP in general, because we know we got proven that it's working. But we also learned that we don't need smart contracts for it, which is also pretty interesting, because you could say, okay, maybe certain compliance parts are still missing and you would need smart contracts for it to work. But it looks like that's not the case. It looks like whatever we have on the XRPL is perfectly working. The connection to Axelar is all we need for interoperability. Sounds good. I mean, there's not much missing, I would say. So the tech is there, the tech is working.
Things are coming together.
True. I mean, maybe privacy, I would say. Privacy is like the last big, I mean, there will always be another thing that is missing, but out of all the things that are missing, we started with payments and tokenization. This is something that XRPL solved very early on with the first DEX and tokenization. Then we had compliance. Compliance was a big topic, but I think we nailed it kind of now with decentralized ID, with credentials, with permission domain, and now also permission DEX. Later on, we will also see things like smart vaults. We can do all the hard computation around privacy off-chain with Boundless. So there are ways to integrate privacy into the stack without burden the XRPL so much. So I think the puzzle pieces are coming together, but privacy seems to be like the last missing piece. What do you think? What is still missing?
It's probably not maybe the last or something, but it's definitely one of the major ones that is upcoming. I guess the whole programmability part is still sort of going alongside. Yeah. Smart escrows, we have seen a lot more news on it. But also under the hood developments, improvement in scalability and transaction throughput, and more of these off-chain components. Interested about, hey, how can we utilize ZKP more effectively for off-chain compute? Is Intense something that we want to look into? So there are some things that I think we will see more as DeFi is maturing. A lot of people have sort of put their thoughts and ideas about their last hack on paper. I saw many good threads on X about it, and we'll see where this is going to go. But generally speaking, I would say from a fundamental point of view, we have sort of everything, but just we want to make it a better fit.
True.
What we have, we want to make it a better fit. True. And including even like evolving the AMM, right? Like we want maybe to evolve the AMM, get this better. I mean, you are a huge advocate for that. So lending protocols upcoming. I think we get more and more into thinking less about new features too, but more about bootstrapping, about the XRP Ledger DEX, like getting usage going, getting sort of the flywheel effect going. I think that is more becoming a bigger part and less about always new amendments.
Also security and making the XRPL more stable in general. We don't want to see things like the XRPL halting or getting hacked on the protocol level or something. And whenever we enact a new feature, we want this feature to be stable. We want this feature not to be hacked a day later. So it's really important that we not only concentrate on new features, but also making maybe even the documentation a bit more easy to understand with the help of AI maybe. So there are many parts that are maybe boring, but in the end will help us a lot more than enacting just another feature. I mean, many people are waiting for let's say the sponsoring amendment that will help with onboarding new people. So there will always be new features. But I think right now, as we see every day there's a new hack, security probably should be priority number one, even though it means we will do less from all the other aspects, but I think it's worth concentrating on security right now. Security, not just in terms of code security, but also quantum security. And there is one glimpse into the future for the next episode. We will actually talk with Anshal. So, little spoiler, we will talk with Anshal about security and privacy and her research.
That's exciting.
At Ripple. So, for all the folks that kept listening until the end, I hope
that's your alpha.
That's the alpha. I hope you're happy to hear it because I'm super, super excited to hear what Anshal is going to tell us about the ongoing developments and her research at Ripple. So thanks everyone for listening in. Thanks Vet for the always great discussion. It was a pleasure as always. Thank you for listening and like and subscribe and see you next time, guys. Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.